Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And this will be a short reaction to a video I just watched by Tracy Townsend, a medical licensed doctor who is currently advocating for the use of psilocybin in treatment of depression. She has, I think, some products for sale. You can check out the link in the description below if you want to watch her video. But I want to react to it, respond to some things she said in her video. From my personal experience, I want to talk about how there are some dangers that she's glossing over or omitting completely. And there's a very good reason why psychedelics in general and mushrooms as well are currently not legal without a prescription. I want to just talk about that really quick. First of all, whether or not they're effective in treating mental illness or depression or anything is besides the point when you consider that some people do not respond well to psychedelics, period. And I, again, speak from personal experience. They're not for everybody. And there are some people who just, for whatever reason, aren't wired correctly to use any kind of mushrooms or LSD or anything like that. They just have a terrible reaction. And I think this is primarily why they are classified as illegal drugs at this time without a prescription. But with that said, much of what she described in her video is on point. I agree with most of it. However, she also left out some of the dangers of what you experience while you're on mushrooms. For example, I think that there's a very important warning that needs to accompany any recommendation to take mushrooms, psilocybin, for example. That is, the things that you experience while you're on mushrooms, including your entire environment, but specifically, sex, for example, and other things that are, thought to be pretty harmless. Normally, they're going to have an extreme effect on your sensitivity, your experience, and how much you respond to those same things in the future following your psychedelic experience. There are some very famous, noteworthy cases, such as Russell Brand, who has actually gone on public television to describe his experiences with sex while on mushrooms, and now he says that he's unable to separate the imagery of phallic symbols and phallic shapes from his conscious viewport. He can't not look at something in terms of some kind of sexual relevancy due to his having been programmed after a fashion while on mushrooms and partaking of sex in his normal life. He's done it to the point where it has kind of twisted him, and I'll let him speak from his own experience. If you want to look up his videos, he says a lot about it. But that's just one example of the impressionability while somebody is tripping on mushrooms or LSD. You become highly pliable, and I like to think about psychedelics in terms of solvency. They're a sort of neurological solvent, where if you think about the brain as sort of a solid machine under normal circumstances, you take mushrooms or LSD and it kind of makes it softer or liquefies it completely. Your consciousness, your receptivity to stimulus and experiences, and you can completely reshape your mind. And it's, for that reason, it should be a little bit scary and dangerous, considered dangerous, because it is. You can reshape your mind in good ways or bad ways. It's not all positive. It's not like you take, a psychedelic drug and suddenly you reach enlightenment, or suddenly you are cured of your depression forever. There's an opportunity to reshape your brain, and just as, melting some plastic and bending it into a new shape could be useful or helpful, it's by no means guaranteed that the new shape is going to be useful or helpful. And it depends a lot on who you are as a person, your experiences, the environment that you're in, the people you're with, and how often you use it. My final point in reaction to her video is she mentions that there's no evidence to suggest that psilocybin, for example, is habit forming, because it does not operate on the same parts of the brain that opiates do, for example, or other habit forming drugs. But I want to mention there are, countless famous cases of famous people becoming psychologically addicted or addicted in other ways to psychedelic drugs. They can very easily become a habit and become a toxic habit. Some people have emotional problems in the fallout of their experimentation with psychedelics. They have mood disturbances, is what they're called. They can become dependent on the feeling and the experience. Just like with food or any kind of drugs, it is entirely possible to form a habit around it if it is, pleasurable in any way, shape, or form. So I think that she was a little bit reckless in her advice to just, accept psychedelic drugs as a safe alternative to conventional medicine without the disclaimer that there are a lot of actual real dangers associated with these things. And I think that if somebody's considering alternative medicine, holistic medicine, or psychedelic drugs in particular, they should consult an expert, somebody who has had experience not just with the positive sides of it, but also the unfortunate reasons why they are sometimes advised against or made illegal because of. So something to think about. I am not advocating using any kind of drugs in this video. I'm just responding to her video, and I think that some very pointed reality checks need to be done before anybody considers changing their lifestyle or taking any kind of mind-altering drugs, because it is, like I said, not for everybody, and there are a lot of dangers that do not appear for everybody, but when they do, they're very serious. Something to think about. Reach out if you like down below with questions or comments. Thank you.